What a lovely
Welcome
day!
to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Arwin, Paul, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning. Remember in the old shows, you used to do
What's
the
happening?
intros?
Remember in the old shows, or what?
You used to do the intros, and everybody would be talking, you know, in the chat, right? And then when you finish your intro, you would just turn the volume on them, and there'd be an ongoing conversation already.
Yes,
That
they were
used to be
very
the
rude
old shows,
back then.
Hello.
Well, that's also because what I used to do was mute the line, so that I didn't disturb an ongoing conversation if I was to start the live show. So back then, the schedule, although it was set, it wasn't known. So there's a good chance that a good discussion would start. I would mute my line in G+ and mute my line in Discord, and then do the intro. So although the live audience gets to hear me do the intro, once I've finished, I then have to quickly unmute all those lines so that both can communicate with each other. So there's a good chance in those instances they don't hear me doing the intro, because if they did, it would kill the conversation, right? So then when I unmute those lines, you can hear that there's a conversation already ensuing. So it might be that they just don't know I'm actually starting the show at those points. In the last couple of years, 2-3 years, I haven't done that because it's never been necessary. But it may be a time that, you know, a massive debate breaks out in the pre-show, and I do have to do that. I have to start the live show, and there's no way I'm going to stop them talking just so they can listen to me saying, please share the show, please e-beg, you know, smash the share button, blah, blah, blah. And then everyone's had the conversation die down. So, you know, there's a good chance it won't start back up again with the same fury that it was going in that pre-show. Hopefully that answers your question, Righteous. Elongated though it didn't need to be. You do some housekeeping?
Thanks.
You're keen? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, they could, but they don't. Because then they'd have to venture outside of their storytelling medium, which isn't in physical reality.
Well, outside of their entire category, like astronomy. They wouldn't be doing astronomy anymore, though, would they?
Right, but I mean, they could do something like with the lights in the sky as a phenomenon and all that, but they would have to break the illusion of the astrophysics. So they'd never do that. They could, but they won't.
I'd like to see someone vary the lights in the sky and not just putting your hands over your eyes and then off again. That wouldn't work.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that was a Kumu virus, that one.
Well, supposedly that has happened, though. I mean, there's these papers. In one of my first hangouts on my channel was with Robert Shortman, and we even, like, there was a paper how apparently NASA or something like that was using lasers on stars to, like, amplify their brightness. It was really weird. But there was a paper and anything. It's still on my computer somewhere.
Yeah, but why would you take a single word that NASA have to say as credible?
No.
I mean, no, that wasn't it. That was an open question.
No, it's just a suggestion that, well, according to that paper, which might not be real or is real, it is suggested that there is something that is done to influence the celestial lights, not as giant balls of gas in an insane distance, but just as the lights they are, and then doing something with that, with lasers.
Okay. NASA also claim that they've thrown or launched projectiles at the moon, and that it according to their documentation, resonated like a bell. That's what they've. Well, I'm just telling you what they say.
Yeah. They also said that's
Okay. I mean, they also say
things.
They also say it's 250,000 miles away, or wherever they say it is.
Right, but with the stars, they specifically did not mention a distance. It's just fire a laser at the star. Something happens with the star observation. Like, what? But isn't that supposed to be super far away? Like, couldn't the laser obviously not reach that distance? They don't even mention it. It's just something they do.
Arwen, I have a $20 green laser that can touch the moon and every star in the sky. Just for information.
Cool.
$20 green laser. That's used for astronomy.
That's nice.
Yeah, they had one of those on the scope that I had before I sold it. The sighting laser, you mean like a crude version of the scope, so you can sight roughly where you want to look in the sky before you actually start focusing through the eyepiece. Is that what you're talking about? Little laser?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like a pen size.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that big a deal. But out of this conversation, the only bit that was of relevance was what Paul said, which is to say, if you're going to cause the stars' appearance in the sky, now that happens regularly at night time, but that's not to say that you can't vary and manipulate something to induce the effects of what we call stars, either by their current understood positioning but in the day sky. That is to say, making them appear where they didn't before, or replicating what we describe as a star, just not familiar, as in it's not part of a constellation that we're aware of, it's just appearing in the daytime. It's just a quasi-star. It looks like what we would call a star, but we've generated it ourselves through variation of X. We've varied X, and the result was the effect of what we know to be stars, but we've created it. In other words, it's our manifestation by way of varying and manipulating a presumed cause of stars. Alternatively, varying and manipulating something which you think will cause the stars we all know and love, and then you induce them to appear in the day sky, for example, by whatever means. You know, I don't know what you would do to achieve that, but it's certainly a possibility. It's a phenomena. There's plenty of phenomena with regards to the night sky that in reality we have no explanation for. But yet we've got lots and lots and lots and lots of explanations for them, haven't we? We're all discussing them. Which brings me nicely on, although we've only done one housekeeping question, the Feast of Nonsense. So in terms of the pre-show discussion of what we covered today, there's no video to cover as such unless somebody digs one out and wants us to cover it. Is exactly that. This is part of the Feast of Nonsense. Rather than you coming along to this subject, now, my take on this is slightly different because I was interested in the stars, in fact fascinated with them. I had a telescope, I was looking at them all the time. My folks lived in a part of the country that had the lowest light pollution anywhere. So it was absolutely outstanding for stargazing, which I did a lot of. Great, I was obsessed with it. I was subscribed to science at NASA, and still am actually. But there we go. I was a keen heliocentrist that had a good idea of orbital motions and gravity and all of the rhetoric in terms of Earth being a sphere. So for me to come to this subject and then start looking at Feast of Nonsense topics as they unpack and unravel what is in essence heliocentric rhetoric as a flat earther, it wasn't that unfamiliar to me, but for somebody else it would be. Suddenly they've got to learn what the heliocentric model postulates so that they can overcome it, to what? To be a flat earther? I can't remember who put this under my nose recently, but I think it might have been Paul again, that said that he was offered up a sort of questionnaire or a standardized form that would show how knowledgeable he was in terms of heliocentric rhetoric to get some sort of badge of honor in a Discord server or something along those lines. Can you just jog my memory, Paul?
Yeah, it's pretty much they wanted you, or at least his opinion was, the guy I was talking to, that you needed to know all of the rhetoric, the insides and the outs of it, to debunk it. And I was saying to him at the time, well, you just need elevation angles. But I'm not sure I was explaining myself properly, or maybe he just wasn't familiar with our arguments. But he wanted me to do a David Weiss presentation whenever I spoke to a new Glober person, and I just don't agree with that tact.
No, I don't either. And it's with hindsight, so this is from experience. And your attitude is the correct one. What do I need as a flat earther? What is my overarching ambition if I'm communicating this to another person? Well, it's to demonstrate admirably that Earth is in fact flat. Now, in order to do that, you do not need to understand anything about the heliocentric rhetoric. Likewise, you don't need to know anything. Let's juxtapose it with something that it isn't claimed to be commonly, as opposed to something that it is. So, if someone came to you and asked you about your flat Earth belief, and they happened to be a concave earther, would you feel it was upon you to go out of your way to research the ins and outs, no pun intended, of concave Earth so that you could postulate your knowledge about how Earth is measured flat? Now, in that scenario, most people would clearly identify the fact that you don't need to undo a yet to be affirmed positive claim that your opponent has about Earth being concave in order to assert that it's measured flat. Now, you may listen to their claims of concavity with Earth. Is that the right word? Concavity? Or not. And based on what they present to you, you may choose to pull it apart at its seams based on the rhetoric that you've been offered by your claimant who's in front of you. Or not. Now, if what you claim in the positive assertion of Earth being flat and measured that way automatically overcomes a concave Earth, then what purpose do you have in learning the rhetoric to point out how I don't know, the stars inside a concave Earth don't match with what we observe from the ground that's measured flat, when simply pointing out that it's measured flat automatically overcomes any concave rhetoric? Because Earth wouldn't be measured flat if it was concave.
Have you seen their documentary, The Rectilineator, or whatever it's called?
The Rectilineator. Yes.
Yeah. They measure how concave a beach is while referencing sea level the whole way through.
Yeah, indeed. I forgot about that. That's a good point. Oh, the Rectilineator. Nothing like having a tool for proving Earth's flat.
We can either choose between David Weiss or Eddie Bravo. I'm not sure who would like to do either, but the only other stuff is like plan a walk type stuff, and I don't think we should give him any airtime.
How do you mean? What choice do you postulate? I don't understand. I'm lost now.
So videos for review, Nathan.
I see. Oh, okay. No, I don't mind either.
David Weiss doing his normal routine. That's 3 weeks ago, so it's a modern one, contemporary one. Or there's Eddie Bravo just having a chat about. But I haven't watched either because I hadn't had a chance. But
tempting. Both. Which is the lesser of two evils? Maybe the chat will let us know. Got a Eddie Bravo chit chat or a Dave Weiss current rhetoric. Now, as we're talking feast and nonsense, it does kind of make sense to cover Dave Weiss. Because I am in no doubt whatsoever that there'll be plenty of feast and nonsense stuff in there that we can pull apart and point out at every step of the way.
I timestamped that one because they talk about a lot of, it's just conversational, and I think he's starting his presentation at the timestamp I put in there. Because there's like 3 minutes of chit chat about the last 3 years and stuff. So, or 4 years now. I meant to look this morning, but we had a back office conversation on Element with whereas me, Michael, Neil, and Paula, and we were chatting about, you know, the ideas for the show and the stuff we've been talking about in the new chat you made on Skype. That was a really good conversation, actually.
Is this guy the host? And if I share this is actually Adrian's channel, right? So I will be promoting the right person.
Yeah, I picked that one because it was in Dave's show notes.
Oh, okay. So this is where Dave has directed you for the original. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So I assume this is the videographer then. This is Adrian, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent. Okay. As always, let this chap know that we have responded to his video. And in this instance, as always, the link to his video is going by in the chat. So it's Adrian DiMarco, D''A''M''I''C''O. I think I've said that right. So yeah, please let him know, as always, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and just point him in the direction of whatever the chat is going to be, future tense, that we have about this particular discussion. I'm doing it cold. How long we spend on it, I don't know. But yeah, we're going to be generally alluding to feast of nonsense garbage that could easily be overcome or not even be necessary if you were just to point out that Earth's measured flat. So that will be the general gist of the direction that I'm hoping to take this video. And knowing Dave Weiss and what he does, I'm pretty sure there'll be plenty for us to get our teeth into. Hopefully, that's given enough people in the chat enough time to go and maybe give this guy a sub. He's not got a great big massive channel, which is a shame. As always, you know, give him the YouTube love that we so desperately would like to get from YouTube, but do not, by leaving him a comment, leaving him a like, telling him you're subscribed if you like his other stuff. And just, you know, helping him along in the YouTube algorithm, like we would hope to get helped along, were any of the people that we do video responses to respond to what we have done. I hope that they would put the link to our video in theirs, so that we receive the, as I say, YouTube algorithmic love that we are deprived of as flat earthers. Or at least flat earthers that aren't covering our Earth isn't flat when you search for flat Earth. I think that's enough time, call to action wise, to get people there and leaving a comment and coming back. Are there any comments about this before we actually kick off? I haven't actually sound checked this, so I need to do that in a second as well. No?
I don't know what it's about. So.
Presentation. Sorry, Owen.
I'm just saying I don't know what this is about. What are they talking about?
We're gonna find out.
Sorry. We laughed at it when we first heard about it. Then when someone told us about it again, we ridiculed them. We refused to look at any evidence. We became emotionally upset.
Right, straight off the bat. So our feelings and emotions and general disposition towards this subject matter should not be relevant. Right, straight off the bat, Earth's measured flat. Get over your feelings. Don't worry about how your family will respond to facts about how Earth's measured. It's measured flat. Should we do a little counter? Well, I haven't got the technical prowess to do this live, but, you know, a little ka-ting! One, this would have been a better place to say Earth's measured flat, rather than getting into the social aspects of it.
And then when we finally...
Sorry, Alan. Go ahead.
Or a car going, you. Good work.
That's an in-joke, though. I mean, if that's fine, yes, you're right. Yeah, that's exactly what we would do. So, as an in-joke, we have a metaphor that describes the long, arduous road through the terribly cobbled path that is flat Earth. That's generally a path that's got a lot of feast and nonsense along the way, a lot of trolls under bridges, and all sorts of horrible nonsense that you've got to negotiate. And it takes a very, very, very long time. Now, while we were negotiating that terribly cobbled path, people around us were constructing a giant highway, right? Route 90. Now, Route 90 is essentially a highway that diverts you off all of that garbage and straight to the fact that Earth's measured flat. How are we actually traversing the surface? How are we making our maps? How are we utilizing the maps that we have made? Well, they all use a flat Earth. They're all an expansion from the original concepts of latitude and longitude derived off a flat plane by use of the angle measurements of a flat plane to the stars, developing a grid system that can then be wrapped around a sphere, but for the lines, originally flat, measured flat, utilized flat, to work wrapped around a sphere, because you can still reference them to the flat plane elevation angle measurements that you will be using them with. So you can infer Earth's a sphere with the flat Earth measurements that started off the process. So let's just make that clear from the off. Any more for any more, or I'll start the video again.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, you definitely have to measure it flat in order to claim it's a sphere.
Indeed. And as an opponent would be in the wrangle-dangle down below, in the cobbled path that is flat Earth, regurgitating how people's feelings are about the subject matter and how they react badly to it, there's a guy in a Lamborghini on Route 90 driving past going, "You're going to need a flat Earth for that!" out of his window with his V10 wailing, getting to the end point of flat Earth without any need for this. Earth's measured flat. What more do you need? Answer, you don't.
He said, all right, I'm going to disprove this. That's not a good way to go find the information. You say, I'm going to go find the truth. Like you said before the show, I really hope the Earth is flat. Well, you hope to find the truth. That's what you really hope. Okay. And yeah. So, and then we all try to debunk flat Earth, and that's how we become flat Earthers, because flat Earthers know more about the globe model than the globalists.
So we're into, I'm going to approach this from the stance that I can debunk it, and we know a lot about the globe. Okay, you don't need to know anything about the globe if you know Earth's measured flat, because then you know it's measured flat, and the globe may be a derivation of that measurement that you've proven Earth is measured with. In this case, elevation angle measurements to the stars to derive all the maps and models that claim to be spherical. With a grid system that's derived from a flat plane elevation angle measurement, the equator derived from a flat plane elevation angle measurement, the circles of equal elevation that you will use when navigating that system will be measured and plotted on flat maps using a flat baseline that references surface level. That's a flat Earth in every single respect. That's why all the maps are flat. That's how it works. So none of this is relevant at all. How much you know about the globe is just mental masturbation to show that you know what? How well you've taken on board the Feast of Nonsense? Is that it? Is that what we're doing? Showing people that we can understand how the globe doesn't work? It doesn't work because Earth's measured flat.
Nathan.
Yes.
There may have been a time for that when you first stumble across it, but not in 2023. There's too much information out there.
Well, we're hoping to add to that, because at the moment this is the information. This is if you're completely cold and you come to the subject matter to this guy's channel, who's probably not covering this because he's saying, "I wish the world was flat," which means that's indicative of somebody that's new to the subject, and then therefore, if he's got an established channel, which it seems like he has, he's going to be covering other stuff. So he's got audience members that are completely green to the subject, and the first thing they're hearing is you need to learn about advanced heliocentrism, and you need to look at how to debunk flat Earth. That's how everybody does it. That's what we've got so far.
Right? Because if you knew a tenth of what we know about the globe, you'd be a flat Earther.
Sorry, why would it figure to anybody with a rational brain, in my scenario with concave Earthers, that the opponent who offers up his concave Earth claim, that you knowing 10 times more than he does about concave Earth makes you a flat Earther? It makes no logical sense to say this. It makes no sense at all. To be a flat Earther, you need to know Earth's measured flat. That's all you need to know. Yeah, and I'm going to keep stamping this out throughout this entire critique. Any comments before I press play again?
Well, technically, you can debunk the globe better if you just know it. And that's kind of what he's trying to say. I mean, it doesn't prove the Earth is flat, but it does help you in discussions about it.
Yeah, but it's not needed now, Owen.
No. Well, why? No, this is part of the Feast of Nonsense. I'm glad you've said that because it means I can argue against it. No, that's a burden of proof reversal fallacies we have to point out on a daily basis. If you're going to assert that the Earth's a sphere, regardless if you already know it because you're a fundamentalist religious zealot from birth and you didn't know it, therefore you already know Earth's a sphere by your arrogant standpoint, and who are you to tell me it isn't? Well, someone who knows it's measured flat. All right, well, what about orbital mechanics? Well, you go through your orbital mechanic claim as you are the one who is standing on that hill. Now, we'll see how long you last on that hill when you make your claim about your globe you think you are on. Now, where Arwin is correct is knowing how their claim falls apart is something that you can overcome. But wasn't it already overcome when you pointed out Earth was measured flat? And you could, you don't have to, point out how Earth being measured flat is required for orbital mechanics. You could do that, but it's ultimately their burden with their claim of their faith in their sphere that you don't need to necessarily know anything about in order to overcome, because you know it's measured flat.
That is still incorrect, though. I mean, you're right, technically, but the problem is if you don't know exactly what it is that they're doing by knowing it, right, then, yeah, you can know the Earth is flat because it's measured flat, but still, you'll not really be, like, putting down much of a conversation. You won't be really stamping out the points as well because you haven't mastered them as well.
This is Dave Weiss appealing to a newbie audience in terms of what their path on flat Earth should be and how it may pad out for them based on his experience. And based on his experience, the path is understanding 10 times more about heliocentrism than a heliocentrist and debunking flat Earth as a starting point. That's what we've got so far, Arwen. What do you want me? Do you want me to change the words he's used?
No, but I mean, it does start like that. I mean, all the flat earthers start like that, kind of.
Yeah, that's
like,
what we're stamping out. You weren't here for the pre-show.
Today.
Yeah, okay, well, you weren't here for the
Today you don't
pre-show.
have to.
That's the point of today's show. Right, we want to point out where, as you get indoctrinated into the belief of a flat Earth, you'll find yourself indoctrinated with a position that leads you to only overcome the opponent's argument. So that when you're arguing as a flat earther, rather than proving Earth's flat, you're demonstrating how well you can deal with globe earthers' claims so that you're undoing their claim while they're positively promoting their claim. That will probably need, in fact, certainly need, a flat Earth to claim. Well,
sure.
I don't think that should be how people should start their route into flat Earth. Start it with an absolute cast iron fact that it's being measured flat, navigated flat, built on flat. If you know that it's flat, then how much you choose to learn about heliocentrism, you might decide to entirely turn your back on it. And when someone comes along with their obvious globe Earth belief that they want to push on you, you just go, I don't want it. I don't believe in that nonsense. Well, what about orbital? Go away. I don't care. You believe in orbits. Okay. Bye-bye. Because you don't care anymore. Why? Well, because you know it's measured flat and you've been wasted enough of your goddamn time on
if somebody
heliocentrism.
Bring up orbits, you could just say, but yeah, those orbits are calculated based off a flat plane.
Could.
Like
my point is you don't need to. And if you understand from the off that it is your burden if you're a globehead and they're trying to convert you if you already know it's measured flat, suddenly your mentality is very different. You don't feel the need or an obligation to learn 10 times more heliocentrism than your opponent. You don't feel obliged to do that.
Yeah, this information wasn't available when I first came to the subject.
No, that's what I've been thinking. That not took the words out of my mouth, but took the sentiment out of my mouth, Neil. For the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking, where am I in flat Earth? Well, slightly miserable because the people around me aren't well versed in the subject. And what do I mean by that? I mean, well, they've got a belief in flat Earth, and it's perpetuated throughout the realm that I inhabit. Well, that disappoints me, if nothing else. Well, okay, what can I do about it? Well, I can point out that which I did not have when I arrived here. Stone cold, silver bullet, whatever you want to call it, flat Earth proof. Speak to Morgile when he went on and chatted or debated or shouted down, to be more accurate, by Upside Down Ed Head or whatever he was called, and Tim Osman, and one other dude whose name I can't remember. And during that show, he had offered himself up, his time, his effort, as Brian, in maybe listening, would be going, well, I wouldn't be doing that unless I was getting paid. Well, back in the day, all Morgile did was go through his exemplary understanding of how heliocentrism fails. And all they kept doing is shutting him down and going, prove flat Earth, prove flat Earth, prove flat Earth. And he was like, well, I'm here to show you how heliocentrism doesn't work. Why? Well, because that's the path we all took. Now, the path we all took isn't the best one. Doesn't matter that that's our path. It's Dave Weiss's path. It's my path. It's Arwen's path. Now, to a certain extent, the only exception on this panel is Paul. He exemplified that earlier with his, why do I need to know all the debunkings for heliocentrism when I know it's measured flat? I don't feel like I need this. Why do I have to have a badge of honor, or how qualified I am in heliocentric debunking to be called a flat earther in this server? Or you don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had the privilege of joining around July 2022, so I haven't had all of the early stuff, which I think people get caught up with. Maybe they're even nostalgic for it, you know, the wrangle dangle.
Yeah, because when you were joining, I was expressing the idea that it was embarrassing to the point of my own enjoyment, my own ignorance when getting into what you just called the wrangle dangle. That's the cobbled path or whatever analogy. The discussion where you're telling a globe earther that you understand how a motion in the sky wouldn't work on a globe, you know, all those sorts of things, right? That wrangle dangle is quickly overcome when Refracted Curvature steps into the forum and says, your description starts with a flat plane. And suddenly you go, oh, well, that was all surplus to requirements. If only we'd started there, I wouldn't be in this 45-minute wrangle dangle that only serves the globe, because every audience member's just hearing about how globe Earth motions do or don't work. Where's the opposition? Where's the actual flat Earth proof that stands alone? Well, there isn't one. That's not what Dave's peddling right now in this particular video. He's telling you about his path. Well, the path we took was crap, and it was paved by the opponents so that we lost at every single opportunity. Do I want to recommend that path to anybody? No, hell no, I don't. No, I know better now. Why would I recommend that path to anybody? Hey, Brian.
Exactly, Nathan. Exactly.
So we've got a better path to offer, and we need to start offering it.
That's how stupid it is. And one thing of like, and I went
Brian.
into, you know, the big
all the time. And I know he loves me. So it's just like, he doesn't come at me like I'm some sort of idiot. But I just say to him, it's mostly flat. You know, when I look around, and I've been up in the sky high enough to know that when I'm looking to the horizon, and when I look and I travel many distances, like thousands of miles, I've traveled around the world, and it mostly is level. And so just from a very...
It mostly is level. No, it's navigated level. And if you're on a plane, you could give a practical example of the sextant that they all carry around with them that references parallel to the ground elevation angle that requires Earth to be flat in order for it to function, as do the charts and maps that they're all using. So that example of it, what quantified by what seems level, quantified by how it's functionally useful in the respect to the horizon, they can establish a horizontal plane of reference using the horizon. The only correction being dip, that if you were in a plane and referencing this example, they'd be using a bubble sextant. There'd be no dip correction. But even if you were on a deck of a ship using a mariner's sextant, you correct to the surface level, flat, so you've got a horizontal plane of reference to get your angle from. That's a flat Earth that's being used. It's measured flat. Again, this guy hasn't got that as a starting point. He's presumably had a discussion with Dave up until this point. And in his, all right, we've had a little chat. You say it's flat. Now I understand. Every trip I took was requiring Earth to be flat for me to get around on it, for the maps to be in existence, for the grid system to be developed, from flat Earth angles to the stars. All of those things are prerequisites for Earth being flat, for it to function. Can't get any better proof than that. This guy just, I've flown around and it looks flat? Yeah, that was my standard too when I got here. Yeah, when Math Powerland pointed out that Earth's flat to me, and I went, oh my God, yeah, it was so flat when I went to the back of the window of that aeroplane when I was a rep. That was my standard. Shouldn't be that way in, 2024 almost? It shouldn't be this way.
Layman perspective, I just think, yeah, you know what? It is mostly level. I come from a building background. My dad's a builder. My brother's in construction.
Go ahead. Neil, go ahead. Maybe not.
Whenever you would find a level on a construction site, old builders, like I'm 45, so back when I was doing my apprenticeship, they would get a hose, a clear hose with water, and they would fill
water level
with water and find the level of the block. and then that would be their level. They didn't have a laser or, you know, those sorts of things back in those days. They would use water. So again, like water always finds its level. So I know you're going to go through amongst the things, but that's my.
You're absolutely right. All construction is done on planar surveying. There's no curvature factored in bridges, tunnels, buildings, cities. There's no curvature at all. And you know, when you look at airplanes and the spy plane that goes, you know, 2,300 miles per hour, that thing would have to nosedive down 80 stories every second just to follow the curve of the Earth. Right? That would put the pilot against the ceiling.
What? Did you just phrase it like this spy plane? So what I'm hearing is Dave describing something following the curve of the Earth now. Is that just me? That's how it sounded.
No, it's just saying, look, it can't be a globe because this is what it's like on a globe.
So why is he doing that?
Yeah.
Why is he doing that?
Because that's
He didn't do it wrong there. No, he said it would have to be doing something impossible, i.e., descending an 8-story building every second for that to be. He's not describing the globe there. He's describing how ridiculous flight would be if it was a globe. That's what I heard.
Ceiling, if that was going on.
Wow.
So when you actually look into this, and it's a, you know, at the beginning you were saying something about you're not qualified, you're not you know, you need to find the experts. Sometimes the experts are the most indoctrinated. The teachers are not lying. They're the ones that memorize and regurgitate the best.
Yeah, true.
It's people that think outside the box that get kicked out of the school.
Oh, and he immediately ruins it. So it's all about whether or not you can think outside the box. It's about your ability to comprehend. No. Just prove it's flat with a measurement of it being flat. That's all you've got to do. Then your query about whether or not there's a nefarious intent to the indoctrinated teachers or not becomes moot. Makes no difference.
Right, people that look for the real, for reality. You know, this is reality right here. This is a balloon, 120,000 feet. The Earth is not spinning out from underneath it. You know, this balloon's up there.
Yeah, again, straight to what the Earth isn't doing. So again, we're left with this idea that the hook in what he's describing, even if it's not spinning away from it, is the inference of the spin of the positive claim. All you're left with is that notion. It's like telling a child, don't do, and then naming specifically the thing you don't want them to do. Don't pick up that fork and jam it in the electrical socket. Well, suddenly a little light bulb goes over the kid's head and they go, oh, I could be jamming this in the electrical socket. Hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that's how it's planted in your mind unnecessarily. So again, it's the way we've all trod the path. The path is to say how the globe wouldn't work instinctually. Straight to how a globe would be spinning away from you underneath this. Not necessary. You don't have to leave the audience with the notions of the claim of the globe and how it doesn't work, because ultimately that still leaves them with the claim of the globe. It's like fighting within the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. You're stuck in this prison where you're always going to lose because you're always postulating your opponent's position and fighting against it. Well, all the audience hears is that position. That's the main predominant feature of this discussion. How spherical it is or isn't is still a discussion on the sphericity of Earth.
There for 3.5 hours, it should land 3,000 miles to the west, but it doesn't. It lands right near where it took off, sometimes to the east. Wait a minute, if the Earth is spinning, it would have to go up and outrun the Earth and then land in front of it, which is ridiculous.
So this leaves the door open for the listener to go, why is that not the case? He says it should spin underneath. Why isn't it spinning underneath then? Because that's what should happen. You see what I mean? Your brain leads you to, my path in this discussion should be to, if I want it to be a globe, go and debunk why the flat earther says Earth should turn underneath the hot air balloon. That's Coriolis effect. But doesn't, according to him. So that's the route you'll take. Alternatively, go and learn why the flat earther says that it shouldn't turn underneath or isn't turning underneath because they've proved that it's not turning underneath with X. What? Got to now forage around for the proof of non-existence of Earth turn when you're not supposed to be positively claiming it is turning. Leave it to them to claim it's turning. You know, it's stationary. Balloon goes up, comes back down. Earth not moving. Why are we doing this? There's no need to prove non-existence of Earth turn.
Well, they're doing it so that people that are watching that can think like, hey, wait, so it's not spinning. How does that work? And then they find a video of Wolfie telling them, no, we correct for Coriolis deviation. That's why it doesn't deviate. As long as nobody addresses that, right? If you're going to go into it, then yeah, it's open-ended. It's just like, oh, he just doesn't understand. He doesn't know.
Yeah, maybe in 2017, not in 2024. Come on.
What I'm saying is the open-ended point for the audience to go away from this discussion with shouldn't be, how do I enforce the claim that the globe isn't turning underneath, as the flat earther says, or affirm that it doesn't demonstrate that effect that the flat earther said it should affect because it's not supposed to exhibit that effect and we're therefore still on the globe. Either route takes you to where Dave suggests that he's got 10 times more knowledge of heliocentrism. Yeah, you have, because the path that you've trodden leads you to start as a flat earther with a claim that the positive assertion isn't being made for, Earth's turning in this instance, and how you should overcome a claim that hasn't been made yet. You know, the obligation isn't on us to do this anymore. We've progressed beyond this. It's our opponent's job from this point forth to start ponying up their globe proof, not for us to start asserting, if I'm on a globe, then I'm going to be doing that. Don't lose track of why things like the Black Swan exist. They exist in the ring, in the fight, to be used as a tool in the fight, not as a standpoint to move forward on. You know, it would be absurd for me as a flat earther to start postulating my position that Earth's flat with affirming the consequent taken apart or a logical consistency offered up that uses a globe in the first instance. If I beg the question Earth's a sphere, you're going to be thinking about spheres from this point forth and how they do or don't work. Let's stop all that. Let's just tell the audience how Earth is measured flat. And there's no further requirement. No, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Arwen will call me on this and say, no, you've still got to have a good understanding. If you want to debate, you do. If you just want to get on with your life, realizing that you've been lied to, and know that you have to second guess yourself 6 months down the line when you've had a load of browbeating from fundamentalist religious zealots with a globe belief that you're wrong. If you knew from day one, you wouldn't waste your time. But you don't know from day one. You're told you need to learn more about how the globe does not work. What, to affirm that Earth's flat?
Nathan, you are totally correct in this, but it's really a matter of personal perspective, right? So what you're explaining is like, look, you don't need to get involved in any of that with the new knowledge we attain and how you need a flat Earth for all of it. If you're just going to go into their claims, you're going to get caught up with that. So, but what David Weiss seems to still want to do, which is like the old 2015 format, is how do we convince these ballers they're wrong? Well, good luck with that. Yeah, we've been trying that for a while. They always just go back to the beginning. So it is technically pointless. I agree with that. It's better to just understand exactly how the Earth is flat and just lay that down and then try to make the ballers respond to that.
Yeah, well, we need to shout this loud and clear so that let's pick someone less hostile, because Dave Weiss has become a hostile, unfortunately. But people like Mark Sargent are not, and he has typically had a fair amount of praise from us for giving a soft landing to people when they're stuck in a heliocentric rhetoric. Well, given the stats that he himself is publishing in regards to the uptake of flat Earth and the comprehension thereof in the general populace, I can say that future newcomers don't need that feast of nonsense soft landing and undoing of your current rhetoric that you're stuck in. There's plenty of people who aren't stuck or are open-minded enough because they're young to not warrant giving them a path that they're inevitably going to walk that will lead them to being like Dave Weiss. You know, tarnished with undoing constant affirmations of globe claims that haven't been put to him that will only leave you thinking about how the globe and how it may or may not work. Well, that's tiring and stressful, and you wouldn't be concerned with it if you just knew it was flat from the off. So that's the rhetoric we need to start pushing, and it'll show its own effectiveness in the people that have come here and gone, oh yeah, I knew it was flat. We went along to flat Earth debate and had a listen for an hour, and very quickly it was obvious that Earth's measured flat in all respects. Now, they offered up some debating points about how globe claims come along that use orbital mechanics, but they also need a flat Earth. But I didn't really pay that much attention after knowing it was flat and how it was measured that way. I just got on with my day. What's that? You want to now convince me of your globe faith? Go away. You're just another fundamentalist religious zealot to me. I don't need convincing of your faith in a globe. But what's that? You need to put them... You need me to understand them? No, I don't. Go away. It's measured flat. Sod off.
Nathan, there's a reason why you got to be thinking outside the box. He's got to push that, because down the road, there's that ether belief that's going to come into play. Always.
I have to completely disagree, Nathan.
Oh,
Let's share.
Oh, right, Brian, go on with your feast and nonsense soft landing garbage that you always peddle. How dare you?
Yeah, because you're saying all people need is just a measurement to show them it's flat. That's completely false. As measurements were brought to you, and you didn't jump all over them. And this is after you become a flat earther, as proof of a flat earth. Surveying measurements, measurements to do with air travel. It wasn't until celestial navigation came along and 10th man brought the elevation angle. Until then you said, yeah, this is what I want. So it's not just so cut and dried. You can just say, here, this is a measurement of a flat earth, that someone's going to go, oh, it's flat. That is not.
That's not what he's saying.
But this is what we're talking. This is what we're talking about. It is what he's saying.
It isn't. I think Neil's picked up on where I'm trying to start people off from. I'm saying not that they shouldn't understand a wide variety of flat Earth proofs and how they work, or even that they shouldn't look at how heliocentrism doesn't work, as Dave is perpetuating in this particular interview. I'm suggesting that the starting point shouldn't be speculation about how a globe may or may not work, about NASA, about name some feast of nonsense subjects, false dichotomies about ball Earth turning or not turning, you name it, right? That shouldn't be the starting point. If you get to this subject, the first thing you need to find out is that Earth's measured flat. By whatever means, it doesn't have to be celestial navigation. Whatever the starting point for that newbie who gets to this subject, that's the starting point they should get to then expand their knowledge about heliocentrism if they choose to, or flat Earth if they choose to. But there's no immediate necessity to position your argument, if you're going to argue about it at all, or feel the need to if you already know, with a globe debunking from the off, like Dave's offering. That's what I'm objecting to. You don't need to start your journey with a exemplary understanding of how the globe doesn't work.
Okay, I'll accept that. Yeah, that is correct. The first thing that someone is told shouldn't be told about how the globe doesn't work. They should be shown some basics to show what the world, a basic measurement of what the world is in its basic form.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Exactly. They should kiss you. The words should be phrased such that you need a base understanding of how the world is actually being measured, and that measurement requires the ground, the earth, the reference, whatever you want to call it in that circumstance, depending on how new the newbie is. It's flat. That's how it's functionally operating. And if they understand that, be it through the development of maps or the use of maps, if it's celestial navigation that you're talking about, surveying as Dave used, but with a focus on it to the point where the audience member knows at the end of that discussion, this is how Earth is functionally flat, to the point where if they go away and research it, they could easily affirm that which they've been told in no uncertain terms.
But that's what that guy was trying to say. He said he's in construction. He's trying to explain that he understands that it's built on flat. It has to be. And Dave took him into heliocentrism. Why?
Because that's how he's been trained to do this with Feast of Nonsense. We all have, and we've had to break that cycle. this is us starting to break that cycle moving into 2024, to stop the necessity to regurgitate how the globe doesn't work to justify your flat earth belief. Relinquish your flat earth belief, get a flat earth understanding. And then if you choose to understand how globe doesn't work, that's up to you if you want to get into debates and convert zealots. Because that's what it's useful for. It's not useful. I see this all the time in comments and in personal emails and messages and Skypes, things like that. People telling me that out in the real world, it is not like this. You don't find that the person's immediately going to shout at you and rage at you because you've told them Earth's flat. Intrigue is 99% of the time what you get from average normie when you tell them on the street. They don't ridicule you. It's not the reaction that we get on the internet from faceless, nameless trolls who want to make their numbers seem larger by having 25 sock accounts and sharing their pain continually, making it their dedicated job to fight the flat earth as a woman beater, projecting their aggression onto us. That's what we have to deal with? No, we don't. No, you don't have to deal with anti-flat earthers as a primary concern when you get here. And as me, a videographer and flat earther who's disseminating this information to an audience, I want to disseminate to them that Earth's flat. That's the bit that's important, isn't it? Not how the globe isn't spinning underneath stuff.
Absolute, complete and total insanity. This is an amateur balloon photo without a fisheye lens. This is an amateur balloon photo without a fisheye lens. And when you're up high, you can't even see. The Earth is all whited out. And you go back, it's kind of, the colors are muted.
Who gives a crap? So the horizon has a practical application, though, doesn't it? In both building, surveying, and celestial navigation, you can reference a horizontal plane by use of the horizon. That's its useful practical application in the real world. You establish horizontal with it. Clue is in the name. Establishing a horizontal plane of reference is establishing Earth as flat. That's what the horizon actually offers us. Why are we looking at it and just talking about what it makes us feel like, or how the muted colours make us feel? It's got a use. We use the horizon. So arguing about the non-practical application of Earth curve, which is probably what we'll get into next, again, it serves the same, it generates the same dismay in me for the same exact reasons. Why are we going to get into what Earth curve should or shouldn't do? We can do that at the advanced level of heliocentric debate with anti-flat earthers when we offer them up the black swan. That is 20 levels into the discussion that most people who get it do not need. You don't need to be able to overcome the arguments that we put forth to that extent, to that complexity with the black swan. If you're at that level, you're an enthusiast about flat earth. Yeah? It's touched you in a way that you want to be able to overcome the objections you get from anti-flat earthers. And the black swan offers up that sort of super sharp advanced debate tool. But if you're the guy who's getting here that we would previously praise Mark Sargent for offering a soft landing, do they need the black swan? No! They just need to know it's measured flat. And in this case, horizon. Well, what does that offer me as a flat earther? It offers proof in terms of how people practically apply a measurement using it to give them a flat earth as a reference. A horizontal plane of reference. A flat earth. That's all that's important when it comes to the horizon. Oh no, my bad. We all need to regurgitate feast of nonsense about what Earth curve should do at 1.2 times the square root of the surface height in feet, or how 8 inches per mile squared is the Earth curve calculation, or how it doesn't look like it's bending. It's got a practical use. We use it to establish Earth as flat. That's all that matters. That's where you should start. The rest of it is folly for your average Joe normie. It's advanced for us, and we can wank off about how wonderful we are for knowing the advanced arguments. It's just not needed. This isn't how we should be moving forward into 2024. First thing out of your lips, if you're going to tell someone you're a flat earther, tell them how it's measured flat. Someone brings up the horizon because they're a globe believer who thinks it's curving, tell them how it's practically applied to establish Earth as flat.
But when you see pictures from NASA, this is another one, right? The sun kind of looks like, in all of these pictures, it looks like it's almost the same height as the balloon. But then we have a picture from NASA and we get this. Oh, and all of a sudden you can see the land, you can see the lights, and you have this curve and this green line. This is from NASA.
Yeah, wow.
This is stupid. And here's another one. This is
stupid. What about telling him how rate of change, that would be the slope or curve that you're presenting, cannot comport when you're establishing horizontal with the horizon? Again, if you're gonna juxtapose it, as much as that's my main objection here, with a globe Earth that's presented to you in NASA, you juxtapose it with the practical application of a horizon that establishes a horizontal plane. Rather than just saying NASA's pictures are stupid. Is this the standard? I feel ashamed. Anybody give a comment? I'm going to get my temperament in order because I'm getting more and more exasperated as time progresses with this video.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give a comment. I mean, at least, you know, your points are valid, but I do want to say at least he's not really technically messing up. He's been worse. So I'm curious to see where this goes.
What? Okay.
Ridiculous.
He's not totally messed up so far, so he gets a pass from Arwin. Okay.
No,
fine, I guess.
I'm just saying, like, you just want him to be more advanced, but technically he's not, like, making a complete fool of himself like Jaren that time when he went on McToon.
I'm saying
right?
collectively, we make fools of ourselves when we approach the subject of proving Earth flat with a heliocentric debunking. That makes us all look foolish. We should be more confident. We should know our stuff. Not their stuff.
In 2016, Arwen, this would be acceptable. Not in 2024, in a couple of weeks. Listen to what Nathan's saying.
I'm saying we specifically are at the tip of the spear when it comes to debating the nature of reality as a flat Earth. Offering up the contrapositive arguments to the globe assertions in debate. Now, do people who come here necessarily want to get into being a good debater? No. You want to know the arguments. You want to know how the arguments overcome the globe assertions if they're being made, and how a positive claim of a flat Earth can be proven. That's what you'll be coming for. So therefore, that's what you should leave with. Nothing else. If nothing else was achieved at the end of each show, I'd be elated. So every person comes in and they've not got to hear an advanced heliocentrist be taken apart by one of the panel. No, they haven't. But they did hear how Earth was measured flat. Because if they take that away, they may not feel the need to ever get into a debate with a family member about it. Oh, right, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm a flat earther. What? Why? When we've got orbits? Oh, I don't know anything about orbits. I do know that it's measured flat, though. Well, what about this Coriolis effect? I've never really heard that term before. I've got a vague idea what that is, but I don't know how that would relate to your globe Earth belief when Earth's measured flat. You literally can overcome everything if you start off with that, rather than saying, oh, orbital motion. Well, the orbit of Saturn doesn't match up on this. Why are you getting into that wrangle-dangle? Because then all you're doing is arguing about their globe belief and how you say their globe belief's wrong, rather than being confident enough to say, no, I know it's flat. I don't have to have this argument with you. Even if I'm ignorant of your belief, I don't need to be a Jehovah's Witness to know I'm not going to be one, and I don't want to be.
What's happening here? Hold on. I agree with you, Nathan, but except for the Saturn part, it's actually Mercury. But
you know what I meant.
Fine.
You know what I meant.
What's happening here is Nathan in construction, right? You work the hard way, and then this tool comes out that makes the job so much easier. And you're like, wow, what a great invention this wall trimmer is. I just stick it on the wall and slide it down and it cuts it. I don't have to do it manually inch by inch. No, there's the old timers that still want to use the old way and take up more time. Nathan used to do that, and he got blue in the face with the Coriolis. So now he's got this new tool, and that's all he wants to use now.
Well, it's not a tool. It's a way of thinking, a way of approaching this subject so that the audience can appreciate that they don't need to become an advanced heliocentrist. If you're stuck in the cult of Scientology, or what was the one I used earlier? A Tinfoil Hat Man was one. What was he? A Jehovah's Witness. If you're stuck in a cult and everyone around you just approaches you to tell you how your belief within the cult doesn't function, and then approach it from the presupposition that the cult's correct. So Xenu's definitely real, but how could Xenu have done this? How could he have gone on all those DC-10s through space? Well, you're working within the paradigm that they're already a part of, so they can question the paradigm from within the paradigm. Yeah? Now, if you can take them out of the paradigm, which coincidentally in this example, Flat Earth actually does also, how could be traveling to different planets through a sky vacuum when Earth is measured and navigated flat? And that's how all of the maps and models have come to pass, with measurements of a flat plane. That couldn't be conducive with your worldview of planets and solar systems within Scientology. Coincidentally, exactly the same as heliocentrism. Yeah? You can undo someone's paradigm from outside of their paradigm without going into how Xenu might operate for them in their world, while you adhere to their views and undo them from within. Now, it's not been easy to concisely verbalize why I objected 5 years ago to Anthony begging the question of their paradigm to argue from within it. I knew it frustrated me, I just didn't know why. And it's because everybody around me is doing that, because they've all had to overcome assertions from their opponent that haven't been backed. They haven't been substantiated fully. They haven't backed their positive claim that Earth's got a Coriolis effect, that Earth's got axial rotation, that Earth has a sky vacuum above it, that we have orbital motion at all. None of those assertions in the positive have been backed. But we've been duped into fighting the useless idiots that don't even know the claim with a better understanding. We're doing a better job of verbalizing the confusing paradigm that doesn't work to the audience than they are, if you are to believe what Dave is saying. You need to be a exemplary heliocentrist. What, so that the heliocentric paradigm's got a really good representation from you, the flat earther? That seems about face, doesn't it? Doesn't that seem a bit crazy? Wouldn't it be the positive assertion of the believer, whether they know they're a believer or not in Globe Earth, to make that claim pad out for them? You don't need to know it. You just need to challenge them if they offer up garbage evidence, which they have only got. Now, 5, 6, 7, 8 years into the subject, if you're a regular, you know they've got garbage. But do you need to know that as a starting point for how badly their positive claim they haven't made or substantiated fails before they've made it? You think that's a good starting point? I think knowing Earth's flat measured that way would be a much better starting point for everybody who arrives in this subject. Without exception.
Well, Nathan, sorry.
Done.
I was going to say that the globe paradigm is the biggest disproven negative in history, because not one part of it was or can be proven. So they're expecting you to disprove something that was never proven to exist in the first place. And that's the trap people end up in.
Yeah, we've been trained up like monkeys to get a really good understanding of heliocentrism so that we can do a better job of putting that argument forth in the negative, so that an ignorant globe believer can come and fight it in the positive with the cheers from behind the scenes, i.e. the audience, behind him. Right or wrong, knowledgeable or otherwise, the discussion's going to come through forth and be reasonably coherent, because the flat earther is going to be 10 times more knowledgeable about the heliocentric discussion, and only the heliocentric discussion that is on the table when arguing for a positive position of a flat earth, but just with the globe being debunked and how it doesn't work. Like, no. This seems wrong. Why did I have to do all this work? I mean, like I said at the beginning, I'd already got a reasonable handle on heliocentrism before I became a flat earther. So it didn't seem like that much of a chore to get into the wrangle-dangle of the feast of nonsense and start learning what I suddenly felt obliged. I had to learn about how heliocentrism doesn't work. Shouldn't I be walking away from this crap? It's like telling a Scientology believer, well, if you want to leave the Scientology cult, you know what you need to do? You need to know 10 times more about Scientology than next man. how does this make any sense? I need to be better versed in Scientology to leave Scientology. But that's what's being peddled here by Dave, isn't it?
Yeah,
sounds like to me.
I will agree that the average person doesn't need to know everything about heliocentrism. But the problem is that you will get challenged, and the everyday person will be challenged if they just say, well, this is a flat measurement. What will happen is, because my personal experience, can't speak for everyone else, but my personal experience has been, when I produce something that's a flatter proof of a flat plane, it's hand waved immediately, completely hand waved, and they only want to talk about heliocentrism.
Yeah.
Or some other nonsense. That's not that. It's just completely hand waved.
Exactly. The game's been rigged that way, and they want the rigged game to continue that way. And if you don't want to play their rigged game, they'll insist that the rigged game is played with only their position being fought in the negative by you. You've got to debate how heliocentric doesn't work, and I'll debate on how it is. And if you're just going to come along and offer a flat earth proof, that's not conforming with the rigged game, is it, Brian? Anyway, with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. And, of course, a massive thank you again to today's Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!